Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Stupiracy. My name is Tim McKernan, and that is Riz.
Yeah, hi.
And we're about to educate you on some stupid history.
Yes, and that's what this is all about.
It's all about. Episode 1 lurks in the background, Napoleon's penis. Episode 2, if I may, Riz.
Put it on the board.
It's time to discuss Sickles Cucking.
Sickles Cucking.
Sickles Cucking is episode 2.
Well, I am intrigued.
Are you familiar with General Daniel E. Sickles?
No, is this like a Civil War guy?
Civil War guy.
Okay, now I do, love Civil War history.
Do you? What are you enamored by?
I watched that whole Ken Burns thing.
So did I. I really did.
Me too.
I got to be honest with you. I think it's something that my wife was a little confused by, that she'd walk by and I'm locked in, but I couldn't get enough of it. And the little song that they would play throughout, I went and downloaded that as well. So I'm kind of a Civil War nerd as well. Yeah. So you're into this.
Yeah.
But neither one of us, up until recently, were familiar with Sickles Cucking.
No.
Yeah.
Now, cucking.
Right.
Like I would. People use cucking now?
They do. And have a tough time defining it. But the original term, per my understanding, was if you were cheated on. Now in the adult industry, it's taken on different forms of genres.
If I were to understand now, cucking would be your wife making love to another man while you are in the corner watching.
Behind a potted plant or some form of botany.
Yeah.
Correct. But in this particular case, different situation, and somehow it ties into one of the most famous songs in American history, Sickles Cucking.
The Sickles Cucking song?
No, that's not the name of the tune.
Oh.
But Sickles Cucking ties into one of the most famous songs in American history.
Okay.
And he is a Civil War hero.
So a song like I would know, that everybody would know?
Everybody would know.
Is it something we would learn in school?
I think so. Perhaps even before, honestly. And to be clear, it's not Happy Birthday.
Interesting.
Yeah, you're about to learn.
Well,
you're about to learn.
I'm ready to absorb.
Oh, you're about to learn.
The story of Sickles Cucking.
That's correct. Sickles Cucking. Riz, here's the deal. Daniel Edgar Sickles was born on October 20th, 1819. But he is considered a dubious figure in American history and in Civil War history, and it begins literally from his birth date, because it's debated as to whether or not he was born in 1819 or later on in 1825. That's a wide berth.
Yeah.
That's a wide berth. That's usually like what something a baseball player might try to pull off, but they usually go with a year or two. In his case, he was just trying to say, I'm a little younger than you think.
You know, it's funny. We're recording this on Mariah Carey's birthday.
I didn't even realize that. So much education on this.
Is that we're recording this on Mariah Carey's birthday. Now, is she 54 or 55? Depending on which side of the internet you read.
It's controversial.
Yeah.
Not nearly as controversial, however, as Daniel Sickles' birthday.
Okay.
Sickles was born in New York City. Now, have you seen the film Gangs of New York with the delightful Daniel Day-Lewis, Cameron Diaz, and the delectable Leonardo DiCaprio?
Bill the Butcher.
Bill the Butcher. Yeah, he had the eye thing going on, Liam Neeson. It's a whole thing. Tammany Hall, that was a big theme of that era in New York. So Sickles, pre-Cucking, pre-Civil War, was a product of the Tammany Hall political machine. That kind of ran New York City in the early 19th century. He served as both a lawyer and a politician, and at the age of 28, he was a wunderkind. He was elected to the New York State Senate, so he's ascending.
So this guy had political aspirations.
He had it all going.
An up-and-comer.
That's right. That's right.
A go-getter.
Hungry as the day is long. Ambition.
Ambitious.
In 1856, Sickles is elected to the United States House of Representatives. And so, therefore, he and his young wife, Teresa, moved to a lavish Washington, D.C. mansion right across from the White House in the area known as Lafayette Square in D.C. Now things start to get creepy. The couple hosted grand dinner parties, or so they were called.
Soirees.
Yeah. Now, I don't know.
Back then, soirees.
That's what they were called. Were they called? I bet they were. I'll play along with it.
It's a grand soiree.
They were holding grand soirees.
The who's who of D.C. would attend.
That's right.
The grand soiree.
The grand soiree at the Sickles house.
I'm imagining pass-arounds, women in big dresses.
Beautiful setting. We would have wanted to be invited. Alas, we wouldn't have received an invite.
Yeah, we're not classy enough.
We're on the outside.
Look at us.
No, not a chance. So they host these soirees for the upper crust of Washington, D.C. society. And it was well known within society that these weren't necessarily just soirees. Nay, it was full.
We're talking sex parties.
We're talking sex parties. We're talking sex parties, brother.
The famous Sickle sex party.
That's right. You heard it. You heard about it. You wanted to be invited.
Yes.
But we just couldn't. We didn't make the cut.
The Sickles sex party. Yeah.
The Sickles sex soiree.
Yes.
Alliteration. Wonderful. Yep. So the Sickles sex soirees are going on right across from the White House. It's a whole thing. Everybody wants to be invited, but only the elite of D.C. society can get in to the Sickles sex soiree.
So we're talking Congress people. We're talking the movers and shakers of D.C.
Sure.
Would be at the Sickles sex soiree.
That's correct.
Whoa.
Yeah. Again, called dinner parties, but it was well known things were doing. Now you don't have vehicles at that time to drop your keys in and then see who you're going to have an evening with. I don't know what they did, but either way, we're playing swap.
Well, and we're talking 1850s here?
Yeah.
No Instagram, no Twitter, no Facebook. You ain't getting caught.
No.
No TMZ.
No. You get to enjoy your evening at the Sickles sex soiree.
Yeah. Enjoy yourself. Anonymity. Were they wearing masks? I don't know.
Fidelio. I don't know. But here's where it goes wrong. The author of the Star-Spangled Banner, Francis Scott Key.
Yes.
Well, his son took a liking to the wife of Daniel Sickles at the Sickles sex soiree.
So Mrs. Sickles.
Mrs. Sickles, hostess.
And the son of Francis Scott Key.
That's right. The Star-Spangled Banner, brother.
Now we're talking the start of a love triangle?
Nope. We're talking the end of his life. Because guess what happens? Something must have went wrong at the Sickles sex soiree. Because in broad daylight, Sickles tracks down the son of Francis Scott Key, Philip Barton Key, and in broad daylight, pop, drops him right there. And so as you can imagine, from all the sex parties we've both been to, what would happen if things went awry and the next thing you know, pop, one of the guests was right there, gone.
End of the soiree.
Probably going to wrap things up.
We're going
to have to head on out.
Good night, everybody.
Right. And so it's understood that unfortunately, even though he's powerful, he's going to be going to jail. Nay, future Secretary of War Edwin Stanton decided to represent Sickles in what would be the first successful use of the temporary insanity defense.
I saw read it was a crime of passion.
He was just having a nice evening at the sex party. Unfortunately, the son of Francis Scott Key, maybe he did some really good work, got a little jealous, heard a different kind of sound than he was used to hearing from her, and goes, oh my, I'm a little jealous. Pop.
Well, Key is macking on his wife.
Right.
Maybe didn't ask permission.
Yeah.
And next thing you know,
there's a certain etiquette.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Sickles killed Key.
Correct.
Whoa. And then, no pun intended, was acquitted. Due to temporary insanity, crime of passion, I saw red. Wow.
And he was defended by a future Secretary of War by the name of Edwin Stanton. While the murder and the acquittal, Riz, were both shocking, the true shock to Washington society was that Sickles did not divorce his wife. He stuck with her despite Sickles' cucking.
Well, because I'm sure back then being divorced, a huge scandal, especially in high society.
More so than the murder.
Right.
And what are now known as the Sickles sex soirees.
What's going to get people talking? It's the murder or the divorce? I think back then it's probably the divorce.
It's the divorce. Murder, we understand. That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
It's the 1850s.
Right.
It's what happens.
Somebody gets popped every day. So they stay together. And because they stayed together, few would socialize with the couple. One diarist of the Civil War describes it as, it was like the Sickles had, quote, been left alone as if they had smallpox. Because they stayed together after the sex party, murder, and acquittal on temporary insanity.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot doing.
Yeah.
And then you say, that's wonderful, gentlemen. Riz, Tim, it's great to hear this, but how in the world does Sickles' cucking lead to him becoming a Civil War hero? Well, here we go, brother. So he begins his military career as he tries to rebuild the resume after the unfortunate incident at the sex party. And we've all been there. And he becomes a colonel for the 70th New York Infantry before being appointed Brigadier General of Volunteers. And he is in charge of a brigade from New York. Now the Civil War is getting going here. November 1862, he's promoted to Major General. And while he was extremely brave in battle, he often found himself arguing with his superior officers. This guy's, he's a batty little rooster a little bit. Yeah, he hosts a great sex party, but you never know how it's going to end. He can be a great Civil War general, but he might disagree with the officers.
He seems like an alpha.
He's an A. He is. So Sickles served in Joseph Hooker's division of the 3rd Corps during the Peninsula Campaign, and then returned to New York for recruiting duties for much of the late summer and early fall of 1862, when he commanded a division at Fredericksburg, and then assumed command of the 3rd Corps prior to the Chancellorsville campaign. At Chancellorsville, Sickles received permission to attack the Confederate lines as word spread of a possible Confederate movement in Federal's front. Sickles' Corps engaged the Confederates near the Catherine Iron Furnace. Joseph Hooker, now in command of the Army of the Potomac, convinced himself that Sickles had stumbled upon a retreating Confederate column. Rather than pull Sickles back to the main Union battle line, Hooker left Sickles' 18,000-man corps nearly 1.5 miles from the closest Federal support. And later that same afternoon, General Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson, I know you're familiar with him as a Civil War guy, which had mistakenly believed to be in retreat, attacked the Federal right flank. With Sickles' men in advance of the main Union lines, a gap was unwittingly created by Hooker between his men on the right flank and the rest of the Union Army. Sickles attempted to fight his way back to the friendly lines.
So did Hooker leave Sickles out to dry?
He was out to dry. Maybe he had a bad night at the sex party. I don't know. I just know that Sickles is out there by himself on the right flank. And he's left to fight for his life to get back to the friendly lines. Darkness in the close, choking woods prevented him from doing so, but Sickles was able to secure a key piece of high ground, Hazel Grove. And the next morning, Sickles was ordered to give up Hazel Grove by Joseph Hooker, but he protested. To no avail, Confederates quickly seized the high ground and pummeled the Union center, and by 10 a.m., the Federals were withdrawing to a new position. So Sickles, he's got a sex party that goes bad. He kills the son of the author of the Star-Spangled Banner, and now he's putting the United States and the Union Army at risk.
Yeah.
All because this guy wants to do what he wants to do, whether it's at the sex soiree or if he's out there fighting it. Yeah, that's what we got with this guy.
Yeah.
But then how does he become a hero? Here we go. While Sickles had somewhat stretched his orders during Chancellorsville, he outright disobeyed direct orders from Major General George G. Meade during the Battle of Gettysburg.
Know that battle, yes.
Sure. Sickles' orders were to cover the round tops on the Union left flank. Instead, he moved his men to the peach orchard on his own. This guy's just going rogue.
Well, I mean, to the peach orchard. Then we shall pick peaches while we watch the battle.
The result was that the Third Corps was overrun and driven from the field. Meanwhile, again, Sickles is up in the peach orchard.
Yeah, we're picking peaches.
Sickles lost his right leg in the disaster. Despite this fiasco, Sickles was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions at Gettysburg. How is that possible? The citation...
How did he lose his leg?
Well...
Blown off?
Right, that's right. You're going to double entendres. It always goes back to the soirees over in Lafayette Square. The citation states that he, quote, displayed most conspicuous gallantry on the field. Conspicuous because, again, he had adjourned himself to the peach orchard.
Yeah.
Vigorously contesting the advance of the enemy and continuing to encourage his troops after being himself severely wounded. Now, after the surgery, Riz, Sickles gained lasting fame for donating his amputated limb to the Army Medical Museum in Washington, D.C. The limb was received with a small card which said, quote, with the compliments of Major General D.E.S. Daniel Edward Sickles.
God, I just would have also said enjoy.
Yeah, best wishes.
Enjoy. Sickles.
I used to give you soirees.
Now you get my leg.
Now you get my leg. Part of the Walter Reed Army Medical Center, the Army Medical Museum, has kept Sickles' amputated limb on display. So you can go and still see
Sickles' leg.
Our friend Sickles' leg to this day.
Now, how is it displayed?
Good question. Similar to episode 1.
Napoleon's penis?
Correct. Is this in some kind of makeup case under a bag in New Jersey? No. It's just the bones of the leg. But I have to tell you, wonderful handling case yet again. Yeah. It's just sitting there. The bones of the leg are just sitting there, I think, in the lobby when you walk past, going, oh, there it is. Wow. Sickles.
Why would he think that the hospital would want his leg?
Oh no, he was a war hero, even though he had adjourned
to the peach orchard. To the peach orchard
during the Battle of Gettysburg.
So if I go to Walter Reed, I could see Sickles' leg.
You would see it. It's sitting right there for you.
Wow.
Yeah. Abraham Lincoln later sent Sickles to the South, where he assessed the effects of slavery on African Americans and gave suggestions for reconstruction in the future. And after the war, he held a variety of positions. He was a diplomat to Columbia. Not Missouri, nation of.
Nation of, yes.
Military governor of South Carolina, minister to Spain, chairman of the New York Civil Service Commission, New York City sheriff, New York congressman, and chairman of the New York State Monuments Commission. He was removed from the Monuments Committee in 1912 for allegedly pocketing funds.
That's our Sickles.
That's our guy.
That's our Sickles.
General Daniel E. Sickles, war hero, recipient of honors, leg on display to this day. Murderer of the son of the author of the Star-Spangled Banner. But alas, on Stupiracy, he will always be known for his wonderful...
And we salute you.
...sex soirees.
Mr. Sickles.
General Sickles, thank you for your soirees.